Welcome back to Risky Reigns. I'm Brickroad. This is my 100% Risk of Rain series. As you can see, we're very close. 98.2. We're so close, and all we need is 2 monster logs. We are waiting on the Ancient Wisp, which I collected once, but then the game crashed and it didn't credit me for it. And who's this? Ifrit, who is a boss that only appears in 1 level. And you know what? Today I think I'm feeling a Merc. Which one of these guys is the Merc? It's this guy. This guy is the Mercenary. Okay, so let's see. Glass, Command, no, Sacrifice, and Origin. I think we're fine. I think we're fine with that. So the Merc is a melee class. He's got the Sword Swipe. He's got the double jump thing there. He's got that dash move. And he's got his Crème de Résistance Eviscerate, which just eviscerates a whole bunch of monsters. It can be tricky to get a good break going with Mercenary because melee classes need to close the distance in order to deal damage. Obviously, they're melee classes. And on Glass, that can be a little tricky because 1 hit can kill you. But as you can see, there is some range on that Eviscerate move. You can do it outside of the enemy's effective radius. So one-on-one matches are usually okay with the Mercenary, but we'll see how it goes. I did say that the end of the series I'd probably just kind of go back and forth between the same couple characters, the Commando, the Huntress, whatever, but I don't know. I was feeling Merc today, and that's who we're playing. So the goal is to try to get through the first loop, hopefully find the Infusion and the Hopo Feather at some point in the first loop to get an actual break going. And then the second loop we will play until we get to the Ancient Valley level, which is the only level that Ifrit can appear to. Get out of the way so he doesn't kill me. I was hoping to eviscerate that Wisp up there, but didn't happen. I got the Bugs. I like these Bugs, actually. These Bugs are a great item to get early on. Give me a lot of range attack options from a lot of angles. So starting out with the Bugs is pretty strong. I dig it. I dig them Bugs. I want to talk a little bit about a blog post I wrote about Risk of Rain a while ago now. I don't remember the exact date. It was a while ago. Talking about, because I mentioned just now, like Infusion and Hopo Feather are the 2 best items in the game, and this may surprise you to learn, but I watch a lot of Risk of Rain videos on the internet. I love watching streamers and YouTubers who play both this game and Risk of Rain 2 as of late. I enjoy it quite a lot. In fact, if you're coming to my channel, chances are it's because you've already exhausted all of the other Risk of Rain channels, like you've seen all their content, and now you're here watching mine. I am happy to be at the bottom of the barrel for you people, but there is a kind of common, I don't know how common it is now that Risk of Rain 2 is actually out, but a kind of common-ish opinion that I saw espoused by various streamers and YouTubers is that Hopo Feather and Infusion, they say, are too good to be tier 2 items, and they should be tier 3 items instead. I don't want to name names because calling people out for their opinions just starts YouTube drama, and I have gone 11 years on this platform without ever having drama come to my channel, outside of the one time that YouTube completely deleted my channel, but we don't need to discuss that. But yeah, I don't want to name any names because everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Just because I want to talk about why I disagree with it. Like, Infusion and Hopo Feather, if you know anything about Risk of Rain, these are the 2 best items in the game. I think you could have a discussion as to which is the best item and which is the second best, but I think anybody that claims that any other item in the pool is better than those 2 either doesn't know the game as well as they think they do, or they're just being contrarian. Like, one of those 2 things. I didn't get any items in that first level. Well, I got the Bugs, I guess. but no passives until just now. Got our Bustling Fungus, so we can heal outside of combat. That might come in useful, especially because we have the bugs. That'll let us use sandbag tactics, just kind of stand outside of the fight and fire off the bugs if need be, and just eat up that Bustling Fungus. Yum, yum, yum. Infusion is an item in this game that gives you a permanent buff where every time you kill a monster, you gain maximum hit points. Your maximum hit points goes up by 1 every single time you kill a monster. And Hopo Feather is an item that gives you a double jump. So every infusion that you pick up, I think the first one you pick up gives you +1, and then every one after that gives you plus 0.5 hit points per kill. So having 3 infusion gives you 2 hit points per kill. You need 5 to go up to 3 hit points per kill. In practice, you never need to go that high. 1 infusion, after a few minutes of playing the game, you'll have more hit points than you need to survive that stage of the game that you're on. And after a couple of loops, you'll have the maximum hit points of 9999. Each Hopo Feather you get gives you another jump while in the air, and most enemies, not all enemies, but most enemies in this game can only attack you if you're on the ground. And you can just see now I have no verticality buffs at all. You can just see how much time I have to spend on the ground and how quickly my character can move. And if I had enemies on both sides of me, that makes my position very precarious. Whereas, if you have a Hopo Feather, you can double the amount of time you're off the ground, and then every Hopo Feather beyond that, you can increase that duration by more and more and more. When you combine these two items, they just become more powerful, because now you have Hopo Feather to avoid as many attacks as possible, and then you have the infusion. Hey, I do need this monster log, so here's hoping. We're going to play this kind of safe if I can. Because as soon as I kill that ancient wisp, a whole bunch of little wisps are going to come out. No, don't die in the poo gas. Oh, this is a bad situation. And I'm dead. I'm dead. I climbed that rope specifically so I wouldn't get cornered by that ancient wisp, and I backed myself into a corner. And I knew that I was backing myself into a corner. I should not have gone that way. So if you're feeling itchy and you're feeling like you want to run down to the comments right now and leave like, but this item is actually the best item in the game. No, I don't. There's no way. There's no way you can support that argument unless you're talking about infusion or Hopo Feather. Because I know some people really like one thing people will always say in these situations. Will be like, oh, but if you stack hundreds and hundreds of barbed wire and you get a damage circle off the screen, it's a really powerful and fun build. Yeah, that's true, but if you have 1 infusion and 1 Hopo Feather, you're more powerful than any other 2 items you can possibly name in this game. That's what I mean when I say those are the best items in the game. I want to draw a distinction, obviously, between like the best items and my favorite items. Obviously, these are different things, and I think that's what people mean when they talk about how cool it is to have a barbed wire damage circle off the screen, or like stacking frost relics, or whatever your favorite item might be. Like, yeah, if it accentuates your playstyle and you find it more fun, you might consider it to be better than picking up an infusion or a Hopo Feather. And obviously there are challenge variations and things where certain items will be banned from your run, or you may choose not to pick them up because they're broken or too powerful. What I mean is, there can't really be a discussion about items that are objectively better than Infusion or Hopo Feather if you're being honest about the way the game is currently built. I say currently built as though there might be balance updates to this game in the future, when that's probably not the case. So, Infusion and Hopo Feather are the best items in the game, and if you don't think so, probably you don't know the game as well as I do. Those 2 advantages, being able to buff your maximum hit points just by essentially passively, because you have to kill monsters in this game no matter what you do. No matter what your playstyle is, you're always going to be killing hundreds and hundreds of monsters. It's just, having more health is always better than not having more health. It increases the number of mistakes you can make and still win. It increases the... I'm very I'm in a very precarious spot here. I don't want to die on the first level to a Vagrant. That would just be ridiculous. Boxing Glove. I don't know that I care about that on Mercenary, but okay. Knockback. I want that. Oh, I'm not going to be able to get that Leeching Seed, am I? That's not in the cards for me. Nope, not happening. I can't get it. That sucks. That's a great item to pick up. I don't even know what these pills do. Oh, I'm salty now. I'm salty that I can't get my Leeching Seed. Unless some crazy verticality happens in the next couple seconds before this thing despawns. That's too bad. Having more health is always advantageous. There's no situation where having less health is better than having more health. And there's only one item in the game that increases your maximum health just for doing something you're going to do anyway. There are other items that do increase your max health, but it's per item pickup. The Guardian Heart gives you, I think, 60 per pickup, and then the Bitter Root gives you a percentage increase, but the only way to make those work is to pick up more and more of them. You only need one infusion to reach max health, and no other items. If that's literally the one item you pick up, you will eventually reach max health as long as you don't die. And the more max health you have, the easier it is to not die. The longer your run's going to go, and the more powerful you're going to get. Same thing with Hopo Feather, because the time you spend off the ground is an order of magnitude safer than time that you spend on the ground, and Hopo Feather letting you... Like, when I get into situations like this, when I'm surrounded by enemies and I want to get through, you'll see I hop, hop, hop. I don't do that because I'm, like, desperate or pathetic or whatever. I do it because it's actually a good strategy to avoid getting attacks. It actually helps you not take damage. So having extra jumps... There's lots of items that give you verticality, obviously. There's the Rusty Jetpack, which increases the height of your jump. I like Barbed Wire on Mercenary a lot. That's my little damage ring that's going to help, because I got to get in close anyway, so... And this time we got 3 items going, or 4 items. We got to use item, but I don't know if it counts. Like... Oh, that Ancient Wisp that I died to down there. That's the guy that had my monster log, I'll bet. So that's what I mean when I say these are the 2 best items of the game. These 2 items, more than any other item in the game, dramatically reduce your chances of dying and don't require some other synergy to be good. Obviously, there are synergies that makes them better. If you pair the infusion up with a Leeching Seed, which is constant healing, or a Guardian Heart, which dramatically reduces the chance that you can be one-shot. Obviously, it's better. Hopo Feather, I like getting 1 Hopo Feather, then synergizing it with a Rusty Jetpack, so I get 2, like, double-sized jumps. But there's no other items in the game that you pick up and increase your level of power that dramatically with just that pickup. And I really don't think you can make the case that any other item in the game has that property. Like, a lot of items have that property to some degree, but not to the degree that Infusion and Hopo Feather do. So the argument goes, because these items are so good, because these are, like, unequivocally the best items in the game. And I might die here. Yep. I was trying to bail on that. I'm like, if I don't jump, that elite child up there was going to get me. But if I do jump and the magma worm comes out right there, I gamble, I lose. The argument goes that because these are the most, like, unequivocally best items in the game, hands down, nobody can argue the point, they need to be tier 3, because all the tier 3 is where you're supposed to put the most powerful game-breaking items. I see the rationale, like, the best items in the game should be in tier 3, but I wholeheartedly disagree with the sentiment. I think they're fine in tier 2, and I think that the right call was made in Risk of Rain 2 to keep them tier 2. Although I don't know if they work exactly the same way as in Risk of Rain 1 in that game. I suspect, if not exactly the same, that they're close, because otherwise why would they call them the same thing? That's a great item to get right off the bat. Get that clover right off the bat. That's just more items drops. Now every elite monster I kill has a chance to drop an item where they didn't before. I mean, with Sacrifice turned on, every enemy has a chance to drop an item. But now what I mean is, when I kill an elite monster, it both has a chance to drop an item because of Sacrifice, and it has an additional chance to drop an item because of the Clover. And some elite enemies, if I get really lucky, will drop 2 items. It does happen. Tier 3 items are good for being like really nice passive ways to feel powerful. But that's not the tier where, like, the good game-changing items are located. Like, if you find something like Ceremonial Dagger or Fireman's Boots, they're always nice to have, and they do make you more powerful by a lot. But they don't really change your approach to the run. Tier 1 items tend to be just, like, little passive buffs that, if you're not familiar with the game, you might not even notice. Like, I got a Goat Hoof. That's a Tier 1 item that increases my speed. But with only one Goat Hoof... Here, I got another Goat Hoof. Now I'm a little bit faster. I'm not sure if you can tell how fast I am now compared to how I was before I picked up these 2 Goat Hooves. It's really only after you start stacking Tier 1 items that the effect becomes dramatically noticeable. I don't know why I'm going back to the Teleporter. I still got enemies up here to kill. Tier 2 items, by and large, are where they put items that do change up your run dramatically. And this isn't like a hard and fast rule. Like, there are obviously examples of all 3 types of items in all 3 tiers. But Tier 2 items, over the course of the run, you're guaranteed to get a couple of Tier 2 items. And the combination of those items will dramatically alter how you play the run. Whereas you're probably only going to see one Tier 3 item maybe in your run. And what item it is doesn't necessarily change the way you're going to play the game. And conversely, you're probably going to see a couple of Tier 1 items every single level. But they're just there to kind of upgrade your background stats. They're just there to kind of make your baseline a little bit stronger. Tier 2 items are there to change the way the game is played based on what you find. And that's why Infusion and Hopo Feather both belong there, because you can draw a clear line in your run before and after picking up each of these 2 items. And you will alter your playstyle when you see them. When you pick up your Infusion, you're like, okay, the next few minutes, I gotta play real carefully so I can leverage this item that I found, so I can make this infusion work for me. Hopo Feather immediately allows you to reach a lot of places you couldn't have reached otherwise, use all your abilities differently than you might otherwise use them. I think Engineer is a great example of this, because he has those like homing missiles he shoots out of his butt, but he's stuck in place while he's shooting them. He's just on the floor, and he can't move. But if you get a Hopo Feather, you can be in the air, and you'll maintain your momentum through both jumps. So you can start lining up firing these homing shots and time them with your Hopo Feather jumps, and maintain a lot more mobility than the Engineer would otherwise have. The reason I think they don't need to be put in Tier 3 is, like, these items are so fun and so dramatic that I think it benefits the game having as many of them in as many runs as possible. Whereas Tier 3 items, it's fine if you only see them once in a while, because each one is like, oh cool, I got this cool Tier 3 that I can play with now. There is a blue elite on my butt. Okay, not anymore. I don't have Bustling Fungus this run. I'm going to retreat until my hit points are a little bit back up. And we'll just use the Eviscerate as much as we can. If you play a long enough run, typically through the first or second loop, if you make it to the end of the second loop, you've probably seen each Tier 2 item in the game once. Probably. Not necessarily, but it's common. I did not mean to fall there. Maybe it's okay that I fell there. Maybe to give me kind of a breathing space up in my... up on my kill floor there? I'm not sure. But these two items, typically that's the beginning of a break. When you see either your infusion or your Hopo Feather and you say, okay, this is the beginning of me being really strong, and now I can play the game a little bit differently than I was early on. Pillaged gold? That's a terrible use item. I think it just makes enemies drop more gold for a few minutes. Like, yeah, I'm not really into this at all. You're gonna shoot me? Haha. Alright, let's go get this Ancient Wisp. Now, if this Ancient Wisp drops my monster log, I don't care about this run anymore. In fact, I might just throw this run away and immediately start another one. Because if I die, I get to keep the monster log. It will get saved. Or I might keep going. I don't know. I'll make that call when I get closer to the decision point. What's that? That's a Hunter's Scythe. You know what? We're gonna keep this nice and simple and not get shot. There we go. Not critical hits heal me, but I'm not gonna get a lot of critical hits because I don't have any way to secure them yet. I don't have any Lensmaker's glasses. I don't have predatory instincts or any of that goodness. That is a great healing item though once you do start stacking up the crit glasses, and that is a tier 1 item. But yeah, I think it would be a shame. Like, you're not going to see Fireman's Boots in every run. That's a tier 3 item. It's fun to get. I really like getting the Fireman's Boots. You're not going to see them in every run. That's just... And it's okay that you don't see them in every run. It's okay for them to be a fun treat when you do see them. But the double jump is something... Like, it's pretty fundamental to a powerful game to be able to regulate how much time you spend in the air. So it would be a real shame if you only got the double jump item once every dozen runs or so. That would be real bad. Got 2 Vagrants already, huh? Already with the 2 Vagrants. Well, maybe I'll get my bugs back. My bugs that were so cruelly unfairly. There's my Hopo Feather. Ah, the double. Just look how dramatic of an alteration that is with just one item. There's no other item comes close except for Infusion. For my part, I think Infusion is the best item in the game, and the Hopo Feather is the second best. But I could see that... changing based on your playstyle or what other items you have or whatever. But yeah, I think Infusion is the best item in the game. Borderline broken, but I don't know. I feel like there's my Infusion. I like this run now. I'm attached. Okay, so, like I was saying, now I have to make sure that I can survive long enough to capitalize on having this Infusion. Like, the next item I would love to see is a Guardian Heart. Guardian Heart will prevent me from getting one shot. It gives you a damage shield that enemies can't penetrate with a single hit. Having that damage shield is going to help a lot to keeping myself nice and alive. But I also have the Infusion, which is better at keeping myself nice and alive. I should have waited until His Majesty was all the way out. I guess. I'm going to keep using this Pillage Gold for no reason! I honestly have no idea what it does. So... Alright, we got a Bitter Root, which makes my... I think it's just a... What is it, a 14% hit point increase? Which is nothing to sneeze at. Not that I need to sneeze anyway. I'm feeling pretty good. Anyway, I wrote a big old blog post about that on skibby.com, which is my blog. There's always a link to skibby.com down in the description. I've been maintaining this blog for longer than I've had this YouTube channel. Actually, it's so old. Some of the infrastructure on the WordPress backend of the blog, like, it's in desperate need of a revamp. But the site still functions, and I still write stuff there sometimes. I've got a post that I've been drafting for a couple days now. Big, long post on all my thoughts of having played The Witness this past couple weeks for the first time. I do try to... There was a time back in the day I was like, okay, I'm going to have a blog and I'm going to upload it every single day. Every day I'm going to put something up no matter what. And I actually maintained that for a couple of years. Every single day I put something up, even if it was just like a link to something else on the internet that I found amusing or interesting. Nowadays I try to only post if I have something like substantial to put up, which can lead to like months where I don't put up anything. But I think the longest I went over a year once without posting anything of real substance to the old blog. But, oh, took a big hit there. That's not what you want to see. Not what you want to see at all. Okay, let's get out of here. The Imp Overlord's going to follow me, right? Yes, he did. Ukulele. Okay. That's some contact damage. You like contact damage on the Merc. Anything that damages when people get into range, you like on the Merc. Anything at all. But really the best thing I could do right now is just stay alive and let the infusion do its work. Which the Mysterious Vial is going to help. I got a couple of those now. That's going to be some just passive health regen. We're going to stay up there. Whew. So now we have to go through the entire loop, and we're going to try to get to the Ancient Valley is my goal. To try to get that Ifrit monster log. And once we get there, we're going to just farm the Ancient Valley until it either drops or I die or the game crashes. And hopefully, with any luck, we'll have made progress in this playthrough with the Mercenary today. With any luck. And I hope I don't put anybody off when I point out that, hey, there's a definite objective best item in the game, and if you disagree, it's because you're wrong with it. I believe that. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you think that there's another item in the game that's better, I only have 400-something hours in this game. I know there are people that have thousands and thousands of hours, but like 400, that's no slouch. You know what I mean? Like, that's still a lot of time in this game. So I actually do know what I'm talking about to some degree when I make declarative statements like that. I don't know if I have a favorite item in this game. I've got lots of items that I really enjoy. How am I going to get up top here? I guess this rope. This rope's a lot further away than I expected. Yeah, there's lots of items that I enjoy, but I don't know if I've got like a favorite item to get. I think if I really had to pick, I think my favorite item would just be either the Infusion or the Hopo Feather. Because my goal is almost always to break the run. And you can't break the run without surviving a lot. And those are the two best survival items in the game. So Spike Strip, that'll get us there. That's going to bring us on home. I guess Hopo Feather would have to be my favorite because it's the one that's active. Like, it's the one that actively changes the way the game plays and controls, whereas the Infusion is a passive thing that happens in the background. But, yeah, I think it would have been a mistake to make either of these items Tier 3. I'm glad that... it feels like Hopo is not... I mean, when they're making Risk of Rain 2, I mean. It feels like they're not taking everything that the fan base says as gospel. I think they've got their heads on their shoulders in that regard, and that's a good thing, because I've seen some pretty toxic Risk of Rain fans these past couple weeks. That Risk of Rain 2 has been out, and I've been watching streams and stuff. Again, I don't want to name names. I don't want to call any streamers out, because I haven't seen any streamers do this. Mostly it's been in their chat. Mostly it's been in their chats or their YouTube comments. I haven't been on the official forums for Risk of Rain 2 yet, but I watched one streamer playing Risk of Rain 2, and he had what I consider to be pretty valid criticisms of the game, where he was like getting killed by monsters off screen, or like enemies would shoot him and he can't dodge. These are pretty valid criticisms of the game, in my opinion. And the game being in early access, I just wasted my Eviscerate. You know, we're going to go down here and farm these little piglets for infusion ticks. I think is what we're going to do. Like, these are valid criticisms. Even if there is a sense of, like, oh, there's ways around getting shot by this guy, or like it's okay if you can't see the enemy off screen. Like even if there are playstyle ways to get around some of these things, the developers still need to be aware of them, because it's possible that they're not a problem, but it's also possible that they are a problem, and the only way you're going to find out is to kind of listen to the feedback of your players and figure it out from there. But when I say toxic players, what I mean is I'm seeing a lot of the Dark Souls style get good mentality amongst Risk of Rain 2 players. Like, oh, no, it's fine that the big statue monster can kill you with the its laser attack that's undodgeable because you've got a dodge roll, and if you didn't have your dodge roll off cooldown when he fired, well, that's your fault. You should pay it. Like, maybe that's correct, but maybe it's not. And the only way you can really tell is by a lot of playtesting. So, the get good mentality is something that always bothers me. I don't really understand how get good is supposed to deflect criticism of a game, whether you think the criticism is valid or not. Obviously, the game series that this is like a meme for is Dark Souls, which is a game series that I don't play. And I did try to stream Dark Souls once, and that element of their fan base showed up in my Twitch chat to, like, I was complaining because, so let me back up a little bit here. I'm of the opinion that Dark Souls and all of its, like, Bloodborne and Sekiro and whatever else, I think these games need an easy difficulty setting, because I think there are players who would really enjoy playing them that can't, because they just don't have the, like, literally they just don't have the reflexes. I consider myself one of these players. I am terrible at, first of all, I have terrible reflexes in general. Like, if I see something on the screen, it always takes me a little bit longer than the average player to respond to it. That's why there's items in Risk of Rain that I call randomizers that show you items and you push the button when you see the one you like. I call them randomizers because to me the choice is effectively random. By the time I see the item I want pop up, it's already too late to hit the button and get it. So I just hit the button and take whatever it gives me. I just let them give me a random item. I'm not salty about this, it's just something that I know about myself as a player. Like, I know my limitations. I don't play basketball, but if I did, like, I wouldn't be throwing up three-pointers. You know, I wouldn't be... I'm like 5 foot... I don't even know how tall I am. 5'6" or so. Like, I'm not tall enough. I don't have the muscular to effectively play basketball. This is just something I know about myself. I have other limitations in other areas. I'm not a very visual learner. When I play Dungeons and Dragons, when I DM a lot, and when I describe the world, or when I design the world in terms of like how I think about it so I can describe it to my players later, it's very rare that I do so visually. To me, the game, when I envision the dungeon, I have trouble envisioning it on a level beyond just the lines on the paper and the paragraphs that I write that describe the scene. These are limitations that I have as a human being, because everybody's brain is different, everybody has different capabilities, everybody has strengths and weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is I have bad, like, manual dexterity and reflexes. If I see something in the game and I only have a third of a second to respond to it, I'm not going to be able to respond to it. This is on top of another limitation I have where I'm just bad at navigating 3D space in general. This is true in life as well as in games. You do not want me to be driving you somewhere if I have to try to navigate at the same time. I'm terrible at it. In video games, this tends to mean I'm really bad at spatial awareness, at keeping track of what's around me, like what's off screen. And these are two elements that you need to play Dark Souls properly. You're not going to be a successful Dark Souls player unless A, you're aware of what's around you at all times and can respond to it, and B, you're able to watch and react sometimes very small movements in the world. And so when I say like Dark Souls is too hard for me, it's not because I don't want to practice it. That's not the boss I wanted to see, by the way. That's not the boss I wanted to see. Okay, this is... I might have to finish this thought later. In a minute here. Alright, let's get rid of this Vagrant. Ancient Scepter, is that good for me right now? Perhaps? That's... yeah, okay, that worm went under me. We're going to use Eviscerate to take out these jellies, and then we're going to try to clear out a spot to fight this worm later. Problem is, this worm can absolutely kill me right now. I'm going to try to use the iframes from Eviscerate if I don't have another way to dodge him. And I'm going to try to dash away from any blue elites that there might be. This is a bad situation right here. No, he's going to go under me again. Good. Okay, let's go around for another lap. Okay, had iframes there. That was good. I did not have iframes there, but I had plenty of health to survive that, so that was okay-ish. I really need some health back now, though. Ugh. Okay. He's going to go right next to me again, as long as I keep moving left, or moving right. We're almost back at full health. I do not want to be climbing up. I want to get up and over here. Okay, good. Why am I stuck? I couldn't move there for a second. I was like stunned. Okay, now. I'll come over here where there's no monsters and I can deal with this magma worm with Eviscerate. Actually, it's called Massacre now because I got an Ancient Scepter. And as long as we just keep out of his hitbox, we should be fine. Yeah, okay, we're good. We're going to want to take this guy down. I got to take care of all these jellies. Massacre's really good for that, though, so I got that going for me. He should go under me. Yes. Okay, good. Massacre's back up. Take care of some more jellies. Got a Monster Tooth. That's going to be good for healing. Not in this level, but in general. Okay. So, no, like, to give an example of some skills that I am good at, this Overloading Magma Worm is a boss that a lot of players think is completely unfair. They think they see the Overloading Magma Worm and that's it, runs over, they're done, there's no way around it. But I was able to apply my knowledge of the game to come up with a strategy that wasn't foolproof. Like, it was definitely dangerous because this is a dangerous monster, but I was able to take him down. I'm like, okay, all I need is a spot on the board which isn't going to be filled with monsters constantly, so I can focus on fighting the Magma Worm. And I was able to facilitate that. I was able to make that happen by running laps around this area of the board and keeping track of my cooldowns as I went. And then once the teleporter event was over and I was down to the timer, moving to a section of level that I hadn't been to yet, which was devoid of monsters. Like, that wasn't an accident. I did that on purpose. I was able to leverage my game knowledge to make that happen. And I know there is some of that in Dark Souls because there's a lot of like item interactions and things like equipment and like buffs you can get and magic spells. I didn't get that far when I streamed Dark Souls the one time I did it. I think I played for 2 hours or so, and I got to the first boss in the game. I think it's called the Taurus Demon, the big Minotaur guy. And you fight him on a bridge, and there's like ladders on either side of the bridge. And I realized what you could do is climb up the ladder and jump down and get big damage on him. So I understood like what was required of me, but you have to also avoid the monster, and that involves like moving through his hitbox at certain times to like move through the space he's controlling efficiently enough so you can get on the other side of him and get to like the other ladder on the other side of the arena. That might not be totally correct. This is a long time ago and I'm describing off memory. And like I said, I'm not super familiar with all of the game's mechanics. But the problem I ran into is whenever it came, like I was in a position where I had to avoid his attack, I was always too slow to do it. And it wasn't a matter of I didn't know what I was looking for or what I was meant to do. It was just a matter of by the time I see the thing that I know I have to dodge, it's already too late for me to dodge it. And this was pretty consistent over, I don't know, the hour or so I spent fighting the boss. And then, of course, there's no checkpoints in that game. So every time you fight the boss, it starts you back at the beginning of the level you're in. And then I got bored and I eventually quit. While I was streaming the game, I had some of these, not a lot. Most of the people in my chat were just my Twitch chat regulars who I know and love. But we had a couple of Dark Souls people come in, and they're like, the accusation was I was purposely playing badly just so I could poop on the game. And I don't understand why somebody would do that. Like, why would you? I guess this must happen, otherwise people wouldn't have a sense for it. But who boots up a game to play it with like wanting to hate it and then purposely playing badly so they can complain about it? But some people just could not grasp, like, hey, Brickroad's just not ever going to be good at this game. I ended up quitting Hollow Knight for the same reason. Hollow Knight's much closer to my wheelhouse because it's a 2D game. It has exploration elements, but I'm much better at navigating 2D space in video games. And I love the exploration elements of it. The combat was very brutal and very punishing, but I also found it to be very rewarding. I wasn't super good at it, but I was good enough that I felt like I was going to be able to go all the way through the game. What ended up happening in Hollow Knight, though, is the boss fights that I completed were all very punishing, in the sense that I don't think I killed any of them my first try, and many of them took many tries. Alright, we don't have an overloader this time, so I can just probably kill them right here. Okay. So, but what ended up happening is eventually I got to a boss where you've got to fight a couple of these pill bug enemies at the same time. There's a rusty jetpack. Gorgeous. I'm low on health. I'm going to come down here, I think. Burning Witness, I like. Let's take that. I'm going to try to lure this Magma Worm over here. I want to get a good position where I can just take a hit on him without anybody else in the neighborhood. I don't know how realistic that is going to be. It's time to find a good use item, though. But okay, I found this enemy, and there's these two pill bugs, and they had charging attacks, rolling attacks, jumping attacks. The idea was you have to be in constant awareness of your position, so the pill bugs, you were always ready to avoid their attacks, whether they come in high or low. And there's two of them, and the size of the arena was such that they spent a lot of the fight off screen. And if you listen to what I just said about Dark Souls and like being aware of space around you, like I'm bad at this. If I can't see them on screen, it's very bad for me to think about what they're doing over there and what I need to prepare for. I took a huge hit there, I think, from a blue elite. We're going to take a lap, I think, and let my... Oh, you know, it might have been a bunch of jellies stacked up. That just got me there. I want to not get gangbanged by these jellies again. So, yeah, these pill bugs, I just couldn't... The fight just would not click for me. It didn't matter how long I tried. I banged my head against it. I kept going back. I kept fighting. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm not doing a whole lot of damage to these pill bugs. And it's clear that, like, I'm under-leveled or something for this section of the game. Like, they expect me to be more powerful than I am. I knew that there was an NPC that could upgrade my sword for me. And I think I'd done it once. And then he's like, okay, for me to do it again, you need to go get some, like, special item. So then my goal was, okay, I'm going to go around the game world and I'm going to find enough of this item so he'll upgrade my sword, and I'll go back a little more powerful, and that might be the edge that I need, since I'm not going to like dodge roll my way through this fight. That's not going to happen. So I did. I scoured the game world, which was fun. Like I said, I enjoy exploring in games like this. And I eventually found the upgrade item that I needed. I went back and I paid the guy to upgrade my sword, and my sword was now more powerful. And I went back to the pillbugs. And sure enough, I killed both of them this time. Both of them died. It was still a hard-fought fight, but I was doing enough damage now that, like, the amount of mistakes that I was allowed to make in the fight before I was completely dead was more manageable. And then a third pillbug spawned. And I was so demoralized and disheartened because I knew, like, I was never going to get this fight. So I looked it up online, like, how many pillbugs are here? 6. You have to kill 6 pillbugs in this arena, in this boss fight. And this was not an optional boss fight. Because I did some research in the game. I went to see, like, is this an optional fight? Can I win the game without this? No, it's part of the campaign. You have to do this fight. You can't win the game without beating these guys. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can solve this through exploration. Maybe I can upgrade my sword some more. And it turns out that, like, I scoured the game world again and found another one of the upgrade items. And I went back to the guy to upgrade my sword. And he's like, oh, I need 2 more of these. And that was it. I gave up. Like, no amount of practice was making me better at this pillbug fight. So the whole time I'm fighting these pillbugs, I'm playing on Twitch. I'm keeping in good spirits. I'm pretty good about keeping in good spirits when I'm focusing on it. Try to keep the salt to the minimum so my stream doesn't just devolve into a lot of me yelling. But we had one guy in chat that he was adamant that I was just playing bad on purpose, and that if I would just quit screwing around, I would win the fight and get past it. So I'm very cognizant that there are people out there that just don't understand people of differing skill sets. Like, I beat this pillbug fight after an hour of practice, therefore every person should be able to do it. And it's just not the case. Like, it wasn't going to happen for me. I know my own limitations. I'm very good at playing 2D games. I've played millions of them. I've been playing 2D games longer than a lot of these people have been alive. I was there when a lot of these 2D game genres were invented back in the 80s and the 90s. Like, I have my gaming chops, and I know my limitations, especially when it comes to something like Hollow Knight. And it was just not going to happen for me. I wish that game had an easier difficulty setting so I could play it and complete it, and we're just going to live on this level until we either die or get an Ifrit log or we crash. Let's not make this our kill floor because there's no elevation to use. I'm going to go to the bottom left, I think, for a kill floor because there's elevation so I can manage my spiders that are shooting at me, and I can retreat up the ropes if I need to. So buckle in and enjoy this level, kids, because it's going to happen. So the argument against putting easy modes in games like Dark Souls and Hollow Knights goes like this. If you play on easy, you're not playing the game properly, and the game is only enjoyable if you play it properly. I think this argument fails for the same reason that, like, flat earther arguments fail. We observe that this is not the case. When we look at people enjoying games, what we actually observe is that people enjoy games for all kinds of reasons, and there's no just one way to enjoy a game, or even a particular game. The reason I know that that argument fails is because I've seen it fail over and over and over again. It's just untrue, and I know that it's untrue because I observe it to be untrue. We know that the Earth is not flat because we can directly observe the curvature of it. Never mind all of the mathematical principles that underlie it, all of the astronomical and geological reasons that the Earth must be round. Like, never mind all that. Just, we observe that it's round. We know that it's curved because if you get to a high enough altitude, you can see the curvature. That's it. To me, that's the end of the argument. When you observe that something is untrue, I mean, you can go to the greater lengths to continue to debunk it past that point if you really want to, but it's kind of unnecessary. And I observe this in the difficulty argument. I observe that people enjoy games for all kinds of reasons, even sometimes reasons outside of what the game was intended to be enjoyed as, and so that argument to me always immediately fails right off the bat. I have a great story that I told. I know I've told it a couple times in various videos, but I can't remember now which ones. But my dear lady wife decided, hey, I'm kind of in the mood to play a video game. Why don't you pick one for me? I picked Metal Gear Solid 3. This is a game that is very near and dear to my heart. I love it more than I love most people in my life. It's very important to me, and I think, like, because games in general are very important to me, if you're trying to figure out, like, why I enjoy games, here, come over here and attack my crudely drawn buddy. And leave me alone for a minute, jerks. If you're interested in why I enjoy games, like, playing through Metal Gear Solid 3 is a good way to kind of figure out why. It's that important. So I picked Metal Gear Solid 3. This game has difficulty settings. You can pick... I mean, they control all kinds of things. I like to play the game on hard. That's my sweet spot. But there's all kinds of difficulty settings. If you pick the easiest difficulty setting, you get a gun called the Easy Gun, which makes the game even easier. I don't want to describe all of Metal Gear's gameplay systems here, but the gun gives you infinite ammo, infinite suppressor, infinite tranquilizer that immediately works anywhere on anybody's body. You don't have to worry about aiming. You get infinite stamina, you get health regeneration that is super fast, and you get 100% camouflage. Is it 100? Maybe it might only be like 90. But you get super high camouflage in all situations. It's virtually impossible to enemies to detect you, and enemies that do detect you, it's virtually impossible for them to kill you as long as you have this gun equipped. You don't have to equip this gun. Even if you're on the very easy difficulty, you can still play it without equipping the gun, and the game is still pretty easy. But my wife used this Easy Gun through the whole game, and I am very confident that she did not enjoy the game on the same level that I did, but she enjoyed the game a lot, predominantly for the story and the characters. She really clicked with some of the characters and loved watching the characters over the course of the game. She enjoyed... Her favorite strategy was the dick shot. She liked shooting the sentries that you encounter in the game in their genital regions with a tranquilizer gun. And because this was the Easy Gun, every time she shot a man in his wedding tackle, he would go down immediately, and he would stay down forever. And she found this endlessly amusing, and it became the most fun part of fighting enemies to her. When I play the game on hard difficulty, there's no such thing as a dick shot. You can't do it. It doesn't work. You can shoot a man in the dick, and he certainly doesn't like it. But if you do that, one, he's alert to your presence, because the tranquilizer doesn't take effect immediately unless you shoot him in the head. And when he's alert, he's got a few seconds to pull out his radio and call in a strike team or whatever he's going to do. Like, the dick shot is not a viable strategy. If these Dark Souls Get Good people had gotten a hold of my wife's playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 3, their argument would have been that she shouldn't be allowed to play the game that way because it's not enjoyable, and she's not enjoying the game properly unless she engages with the game in the way it's meant to be played, which means no dick shot. So I was watching her and how much fun she was having playing the game, and thinking about this in terms of difficulty settings, and I'm like, you know what? I can never buy this argument of the game is supposed to be enjoyed only one way, and if you're not enjoying it that one way, you're not enjoying it correctly, and if you're not enjoying it correctly, you shouldn't enjoy it at all. I understand that is From Software's game design philosophy, and I do have respect for a company that has... I don't have head stompers, do I? I do not. That would really come in helpful right here. I'm timing my massacres to kind of take effect as I hit the ground down here to maximize my damage on them, but head stompers would definitely not go amiss. I do respect a game company that has a strong philosophy that you can see clearly in their games, like no harm, no foul, but I don't agree with the philosophy. I don't agree, hey, only this one type of player should be allowed to enjoy our games. And that's what Dark Souls and Hollow Knight feel like to me. That's why I think those games need easier difficulty settings. Never mind the accessibility options. You know, like if you don't see things well, or if you don't have, like if you have hearing impairments, or if you need to play with a different type of controller than the designer was expecting because of physical disabilities, like there's those arguments to be made too. I don't think you have to take the argument that far. Those are definitely valid arguments, of course. Accessibility is very important in video games, but I don't think you have to go that far. I think the argument fails on its head just because my wife loved Metal Gear Solid 3 for totally different reasons that I loved it. And why is her enjoyment less valid than my enjoyment? I don't think it is. I think another good example of this would be a game like Cuphead, which has difficulty settings, but if you play it on the easiest difficulty setting, it cuts out content. Like there are bosses you're not allowed to fight, or there's like an ending you can't see or something. I don't know the exact specifics because I didn't want to play the game, because I don't want to play a game that cuts content. And it's a super hard game. It has this reputation for being incredibly difficult. And it has a reputation for being incredibly artistically interesting. It's trivially easy to imagine. There's my head stompers. What? Yeah, buddy. It's trivially easy to imagine a player that, you know what, I'm going to take the foreign fruit, I think, that would appreciate Cuphead's visual style, but doesn't have the gaming chops to complete it, and like really appreciate all of its artwork because he can't beat the second boss or whatever. And that's too bad. It's really too bad that they decided that, hey, this type of player is allowed to enjoy the whole game, but that type of player is not. Aside from that, though, I also disagree with the idea that I can't enjoy Dark Souls on the same level as these Get Good people. Because I do enjoy a good challenge in a game. I do enjoy pressing myself to my limits and overcoming great obstacles. But my capacity to do so is lower than other players. So what happens in Dark Souls, like, the level of difficulty that would give me that Dark Souls challenge, that feeling of overcoming a powerful boss fight after great adversity, that threshold is lower than the standard player. There's an Ifrit. Maybe he'll drop a monster log for me. Oh my god! I got one shot by that guy. I never did get a Guardian Heart. I never did get one going, and that's the end of the run. I'm salty and I'm leaving. This game needs an easy mode. Bye!